Reluctantly, John agreed to the Queen's plan. Her offer of safe passage home was too enticing to resist, even if it meant betraying his friends. Deep down, he knew he couldn't truly abandon them, but for now, he had to play the Queen's game to ensure their survival. As he left the Queen's tent, John's mind raced with the weight of his decision. He knew that he had to tread carefully, balancing the Queen's demands with his secret plan to save his friends. He couldn't afford to let on that he was anything other than a loyal servant of the Queen. The enchanted grove had grown darker, and a sense of foreboding hung in the air as John returned to the sinister soldiers who had captured him. They regarded him with suspicion, their eyes narrowing as he approached. "Did you agree to her terms?" one of the soldiers growled, his voice laced with skepticism. John nodded, his expression carefully neutral. "I did. I'll do whatever it takes to secure my passage home." The soldiers exchanged glances, their suspicion giving way to reluctant acceptance. "Very well," the leader of the soldiers said. "You'll need to help us set the trap for your friends. We'll be watching your every move." With that, they set to work, preparing a devious plan to ensnare John's companions. They crafted an illusion, a false portal that would lead John's friends into a carefully concealed trap. The soldiers used their dark magic to weave the illusion, making it nearly indistinguishable from a genuine portal. As the plan took shape, tensions began to escalate within the group. John had to navigate a precarious balancing act, torn between loyalty to his friends and the need to maintain the Queen's trust. He did his best to follow the soldiers' instructions while secretly leaving subtle clues for his friends to decipher. Days turned into weeks as they prepared for the trap. John grew increasingly anxious, knowing that the moment of betrayal was drawing near. He couldn't sleep at night, his mind haunted by the choices he had made and the risks he was taking. One evening, as he sat by the fire with the soldiers, a whispered conversation caught his attention. The soldiers spoke of the Queen's true intentions, her desire to harness the power of the portal for her own dark purposes. John listened intently, realizing that he needed to learn more about the Queen's plans if he was to outwit her. Under the cover of darkness, John slipped away from the camp, making his way to the Queen's tent. He knew it was a dangerous gambit, but he had to gather information that could help him save his friends and thwart the Queen's sinister ambitions. Inside the tent, he found a hidden chest filled with scrolls and tomes, each containing secrets of the enchanted grove and the Queen's dark magic. As he pored over the texts, he learned of the Queen's desire to use the portal to merge her realm with the mortal world, unleashing chaos and darkness upon both realms. The revelation filled John with a sense of urgency. He couldn't allow the Queen to succeed in her malevolent plans. He had to find a way to stop her, but first, he had to ensure the safety of his friends. With newfound determination, John returned to the soldiers' camp and continued to play his role in setting the trap. But he also began to discreetly sabotage their efforts, making subtle alterations to the illusion to give his friends a fighting chance. As the day of the trap's activation approached, John's anxiety reached its peak. He couldn't help but wonder if his friends would see through the deception and avoid falling into the Queen's clutches. He could only hope that the clues he had left for them would be enough. Finally, the day arrived. The trap was set, and John's heart raced as he watched his friends approach the false portal. Lyriel, Lumina, and Thistlewind had trusted him, and now he had to trust in their resourcefulness and intelligence. As they stepped through the portal, John held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. For a moment, it seemed as though they had fallen into the Queen's trap, but then he saw it, the subtle sign he had left for them, a mark only they would recognize. With a surge of relief, John's friends veered away from the illusion and disappeared into the enchanted grove, escaping the Queen's clutches. The soldiers were thrown into confusion, their plan foiled by John's subterfuge. But the Queen was not so easily deceived. With a furious rage, she emerged from her tent and confronted John, her dark powers crackling around her. "You traitor," she hissed. "You dare to defy me?" John stood his ground, his resolve unwavering. I won't let you harm my friends or unleash your darkness upon the world. Your reign of terror ends here." The queen unleashed her magic, sending bolts of dark energy hurtling toward Jon. He jumped to the side, narrowly missing the magic that struck a tree behind where Jon was standing. The blast from the bolt sent shockwaves through the enchanted grove, and the very fabric of the realm seemed to tremble. Jon's friends quickly returned, determined to save Jon. Together, they confronted the queen, their combined magic proving to be a formidable force against her dark sorcery. The clash between Jon's friends and the malevolent queen raged on, the air crackling with dark energy as spells and counterspells filled the clearing. The soldiers, once loyal to the queen, had now turned against her, realizing the extent of her treachery. But the queen was a formidable adversary, her power unmatched. Despite their determination and combined strength, Lyriel, Lumina, and Thistlewind found themselves on the brink of defeat. The queen's dark magic overwhelmed them, and they were driven to their knees, their strength waning with each passing moment. Desperation filled Jon as he watched his friends falter. He knew that he couldn't stand by and let the queen's malevolence triumph. With a selfless act of bravery, Jon threw himself in front of the deadly bolt of magic meant for his friends. The dark energy struck him, sending a shockwave of pain coursing through his body. His vision blurred, and he felt himself falling, the world around him spinning into darkness. Everything went black. For what felt like an eternity, Jon existed in a void, suspended between life and death. He couldn't see, hear, or feel anything. It was as if he had been severed from reality, a mere wisp of existence adrift in the cosmic void.